FlowLab has had a bit of a facelift. Hello, my name is Andrew Soterio, and I want to tell you more about that. Yep, it's had a nip and tuck, and many of you will know it as an asset that was used to house a lot of knowledge and harvest that knowledge and share that knowledge across our community. Certainly knowledge that spans human innovation, creativity, the elements of how to differentiate the human condition in the age of AI, using human intelligence factors, but also collective intelligence, knowledge that we've built up over the years, over the past, in terms of innovation, adaptability, resilience, grit, creativity, unlocking performance, and building sustainable, profitable growth in the long run. So these are all interconnected, looking at the human agency in terms of the individual, and then connecting the dots between that and team, department, brand, organization, community, and even national competitiveness. This is an element that we specialize in. Certainly, my background has been working with a lot of the tier one company owners, the chief exec, and their executive teams in the US, UK, Europe, and Africa, South Africa being a big part of that, but also with focuses on the rest of the world, because these are interconnected supply chain organizations, so large consumer goods retail organizations that have hub and spoke systems dotted in various parts of the world. So you're drinking a Coca-Cola, one of my former clients, and certainly one of the best clients we've worked with in terms of building high performance in all aspects of what they do. It's important to share with you, I thought today, what that facelift for FlowLab means and how we're incorporating some of these capabilities into what many of you saw as that podcast involving some of you, my most recent guests, which we haven't shared yet, the likes of John McGaskill, one of my greatest podcasts, certainly not in terms of performance, but in terms of speaking to the man. He's a great guy, a former Navy SEAL commander, and currently running Men for Mindfulness podcast and other capabilities, mindfulness for frogmen, I think it was, in addition to some work that he's doing in building the staff function in an organization in the US. So chief of staff, I think it was, or director of performance. These are the kinds of people we've spoken to in the past. Also CEOs of organizations, startups, but also large organizations, and agitators, pioneers, innovators in their various spaces, freedivers. Some of them were thinkers, people that were thinking way ahead of the curve, visionaries. And now we've housed that, we've got that asset of knowledge within our system, that augmented by some of the professional case studies and work we've done, making some of the world's best brands perform even better. So the likes of Coca-Cola, Carlsberg, Danone, consumer goods brands, but also other cross-sector brands. My background, and certainly that of the partners in the FlowLab, are a mix, a hybrid of corporate but also sports background. So people that have been elite sports professionals and represented either their countries or played, typically at an Olympic level. We are trying to bridge the gap between corporate performance and human performance to build that sweet spot in between. That's the FlowLab. And Flow, as you know, which we can come onto at a later stage in a deep dive, is very much based on the Michael Csikszentmihalyi concept of flow, how to unlock peak performance. And that relates actually to individual performance, your thinking, your cognitive skills, your behavioral, your ability to keep pushing, particularly for those who perform at the edge for sustained periods, and find your buttons, find the way that works best for you. Are you someone who spikes flow through music, or running, or dancing, or baking, or cooking, or being a chef? And how can we transfer some of this knowledge into the workplace to build better customer experiences. Decathlon for me is a great example of one such case study where the smart sports people are being used as salespeople within the organization, within the sales retail environment. Typically, they're all sports players of a given discipline, and they're there providing guidance. Actually, one of my first jobs while I was at university is exactly that, at Varsity Sports in Hatfield, for some of you who might know the area, working with Willie Lewis. And he employed typically a lot of Springbok sports people, so people like Naas Botha, if some of you remember him, Theo van Rensburg, who I actually he became a friend and did some talks at school with me. But typically these human elements of performance, through the lens of the line leader, the CEO, the C-suite, and those who are responsible for building top line and bottom line performance, that is the focus of FlowLab. And how to build high-performing teams around that and connect that to profitability, innovation, creativity, ultimately, in sort of brackets, adaptability, resilience, and grit for the organization. And that's for the organization and its people. Clearly, that's what the organization is, sort of a symbiotic cohabitation of people and products and services that make it sing. I want to share some of the updates on FlowLab. So FlowLab, for many of you, as I've said, has been a podcast. I don't want to spend too much time on that. And it's continuing to be a podcast. I spoke to a very interesting guest or potential guest this morning, who I'm hoping to speak to next week. And then some of the others that we're going to continue running with. But FlowLab is different. The FlowLab is, I don't want to call it a strategy consultancy, a think tank, or an agency, but it's a bit of all of those. And it helps governments and C-suite leaders. And by that, I mean also startups. I'm not just talking the 100 billion a year. I'm talking startups, and startups that we want to work with. The kind of people who we believe are configured to do well both now and also the future. And when I do well, I mean to build customer centricity, anchored to solving real needs in the marketplace. These are needs that are either conscious or unconscious, and that's the art, the skill of the venture builder, is to unlock, or at least understand, excavate what those unmet needs are in order to turn them into a profitable business. And that's a sustainable, profitable business that depends on largely transactions between itself and customers on a regular repeat basis in order to maintain profitability and sustainably and grow organically into the future, as opposed to getting outside help, debt, and bailouts, which is creating a lot of zombies in the market. And so for us, our unique approach is that we will be led by seasoned, globally experienced leaders, founders, senior executive leaders who have been at this cutting edge of top line growth, performance, and delivering to the CEO. And that's quite a difficult task, the board at some of these 100 billion a year turnover companies. The likes of Coca-Cola, Carlsberg, which have been exemplary in my experience, certainly in terms of how they work, in terms of building excellence both in people and also processes, systems, and ways of working. And we want to bring that knowledge into the asset of FlowLab next. For us, purpose is built. It's not found. You don't just stumble upon it on some alchemist journey. Purpose is very much built. It's an intentional process. And you will never really know that you've got it or found it if you haven't intentionally thought about what that looks like. So for us, driving profitable growth is a big part of purpose. It enables impact. It benefits organizations. It creates positive, lasting legacies. And most of that is anchored to action, experimentation, and continuous learning, adaptability, and resilience in order to adapt and overcome, as they say. Our vision at FlowLab is to be the world's leading accelerator of smart growth, revolutionizing how individuals and organizations approach learning, performance, and sustainable success. Now, growth has become a bit of a swear word, particularly in low growth environments over the last 5 years. And it is important to separate good growth from bad growth, in my opinion. And life's not that binary, of course, but there is a very clear bad growth. Bad growth is where we are extracting the Earth's natural resources, and we're doing that at a profit that benefits the 1% exclusively, and effectively it does not benefit the other 99%. It harms them. And so for us, there's a very clear definition of what smart growth looks like. Smart growth is not just measured in turnover and GDP terms. Smart growth can also be measured in learning and in new ways of thinking, and also in adapting. Smart growth is also in non-financial constructs, so providing people an opportunity to work in a startup incubated environment, fast-paced, particularly where they're feeling disaffected or demoralized or disconnected from the main part of the business. It's a high-performance incubated environment where people can come in and feel energized because they're working and learning from others who are like-minded and who want to exceed and succeed, excel and succeed. That's good growth for us. And good growth, we don't want to define it too neatly. It depends on your needs. And so our approach has always been based on a bespoke approach to how we work with the likes of Coke, Carlsberg, and the rest of the world. Of course, there've been many other clients. For us, accelerating human and organizational transformation is the first step towards achieving that smart growth. There's no point having a smart, excellent business when your staff are disenfranchised, they're not happy. There's an inequity problem throughout the value chain and throughout the world right now. So, we've become victims of our own comfort over the last 10 or 20 years. Certainly some organizations still dependent on debts and handouts and some of the fragile elements that lead to zombie companies. So that fragility, the anti-fragility, is what we're building at FlowLab, is to create those peak performing teams and organizations. Our key pillars are anchored to transformative leadership, and by that I mean the James McGregor Burns style of leadership, where we've spoken to people such as, the transformative leaders in the FlowLab. That's been the focus pretty much there, is people that look around corners, that are visionary, and they're bigger than just their jobs. These are people with mojo. They have roles in their job. They might be a CEO, but they also have other roles. They might be a Boy Scout leader elsewhere, or mountain adventurer, of different. And these are important for us in the FlowLab of bringing in that connection with community and building, lifting and rising the level of our competition. That includes elements of soft skills and what we have erroneously called soft skills, which I believe are actually durable skills. Emoting, learning, being able to understand other humans. We've overemphasized STEM, and don't get me wrong, STEM is great, but we've overemphasized the hard skills, where MS-DOS is no longer there. PowerPoint is no longer there. Well, at least not for some of us. And the actual skills are in storytelling. Those are the hard skills. That's where you build an audience. That's where you take your audience with you on a journey, and you share why it is important, create purpose. It's not just going to happen. You create the purpose with vision. We also very much anchor our business model to pillars. I mentioned transformative leadership. The other one will be data-driven strategy, leveraging analytics, and particularly predictive analytics, which we've done in the past, certainly with large organizations, in order to understand logistical flows, truck movements. It's intelligence gathering for supply chains, hub and spoke systems that are interconnected. How do we maximize that capability, even in a human function, the employee function, wearables? There's a lot of opportunity for us to grow this in the future. So our data-driven strategy, even to connect in infrastructure, healthcare, which we've worked with people like Mark Shuttleworth in the past, developing Ubuntu open shared innovation platforms, which I believe are the ones that we need to be tapping into more in the future. So the customer-centric innovation, data centricity, leveraging analytics, implementing predictive models that help us solve certain problems of infrastructure, certain pinch points in the market right now. These can be avoided. We have the technology, we have the people, and we need it more than ever. The other element there, and there's 5 pillars. The first one I said was transformative leadership. The second one was data-led. The third one is customer centricity. The fourth one is operational excellence, making sure that the ship is not taking on any holes as we're moving forward together, or it's not listing rather. We want to make sure that people who perform at the edge for sustained periods, we're talking, 365, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. These are non-stop operations, hotels, large supply chain organizations, consumer goods and retail, all of which my background, and certainly I can tell you they don't stop. They can lead to burnout, particularly if you're at the C-suite and you're always on. One of my roles, we worked across in the retail space, the New York, London, and Hong Kong, and a particularly crazy time, 2016, when the world started tilting a little, but it can be tilted back, certainly. There was a lot of mental dis-ease in the market, created by misinformation, media flashbangs that are discombobulating audiences at a public level, and leading to an inability to make sound decisions, in some cases leading to self-injuring or self-harming outcomes. And so the element of building agency at the individual level starts with understanding food security issues, what is healthy in terms of nutrition. These elements are not covered in a lot of the academic curriculums, folks. I did a science of wellness psychology course with Yale University a couple of years ago, and I was flabbergasted but not so surprised when I thought about it afterwards, that over that period, it was a 6-month program with Laurie Santos, excellent psychologist, head of psychology department at Yale. We never once spoke, there was no word mentioned on nutrition. This was obviously a burning platform for me, having been in the consumer goods supply chain retail space and coming from a food world, where certainly the FlowLab, one of our first guests was Anton Janssen van Rensburg, a specialist in multiple holistic interventions, and also talks about nutrition, talks about the gut microbiome in his medical practice with clients. And he was aiding the South African response teams flying into Wuhan. So, and I also interviewed one of the fighter pilots and captains of one of the planes that went in to get some, I think it was medications at the time, I can't remember, but from Wuhan during the first week or second week of that pandemic in what they call the hot zone. So, we're talking to experts, and certainly my network on LinkedIn would include some of the experts globally, US-based especially, currently talking about health security, food security, ultra-processed foods. We all know about them. They know, we know, they know, everyone knows about it. But it's like that Tyrannosaurus Rex in the room that nobody really wants to kind of address. But it is leading to tensions in our healthcare systems, tensions in all sorts of public services. And as such, we now need to talk about these elements. That's, many of these clients will probably not like me saying this, but a lot of the food you buy in the retail environment is great food. I mean, we shop in retail. I'm not suggesting we don't go shop there, please. I don't want to get shot from that rooftop there. But I do feel that a lot of what we're taking in is not helping. And I think we know that is not helping our long-term health, particularly around the heavily processed ways of making these foods. So Our customer centricity, our approach to building better brands, building better futures, will incorporate this thinking to ensure that we tell about the customers and we share with customers what their needs and unmet needs might look like and might include going forward. Whilst an Oreo, and please I don't want to get shot by the Oreo Mondelez / I don't know who Mondelez crowd, I think it is. But an Oreo is a vegan product, but it's not necessarily very healthy. And so we need to re-educate and create better language in these, and organizations will benefit from that. We can develop different supply chain pipelines and innovation pipelines that support those. There'll be less profit for the 1%, but that's the point. We need to now look after the 99%. We need to revisit the bottom of the pyramid and tip that, invert the model to focus on the actual customers for a change, build better customer experiences, particularly in banking, particularly where we no longer have the ability to go and talk to individuals in a bank environment. We have an aging population, they're sitting at home, they're lonely, we have a health and wellness epidemic, a mental health epidemic. And we now need to look at the way we build the future products and services in ways that we've learned from the past 20 years. We know that perhaps getting stuck on the phone, spending hours trying to get through to someone because maybe you've forgotten your password and you need to spend the first 20 minutes verifying who you are to speak to someone about changing your address in your bank, online banking, which has improved, giving you access to be able to do that yourself at home. But the point here I'm making here is even in the retail environment, the cashierless till points have been proven to not necessarily be as effective, and by effective, we mean in terms of customer experience. That's the first tick we look at. An organization should not be in business if it is not looking after its customer firstly. If it is in business to keep its shareholders rich, irrespective and without any concerns for what the customer experience and what the customer's long-term impact on their health and their well-being is, they should not be in business. And the governments, in our view, that are creating this lifeline for these businesses are a part of zombie land. They're enabling zombies, companies that are no longer able to operate profitably. And we've just stuck with this legacy of bad growth, as I said in the beginning. So we need to be building smart growth going forward. Smart growth means better infrastructure, better roads, more connectivity. You will know from my articles and posts, certainly on other social media, there are markets such as France, which are great, best-in-class models, particularly if you're driving up from the south, the Mediterranean, Cassis, Saint-Tropez area, to the north, which we tend to do in summer, back to Amsterdam. You'll find that at almost every service stop that you get to on that drive, which is about a 12, 13-hour drive, there is an excellent forecourt with real food. Let me say that again, real food. You can have a steak tartare in some of them. You might move to the next one and have a good Caesar, not just a sort of a manky from yesterday Caesar salad, a good Caesar salad. Excuse me. And beside that forecourt, where you can have all of this, you might even be able to have some fresh juices. You can also take part, certainly in summer, in a market stall environment where they get local farmers to create a little market stall environment within the forecourts. And there's this thriving theatre that I think people need, firstly, from a mental health perspective, to connect, to talk, to interact, to maybe negotiate. That's part of the chemistry of being human, and it's wonderful. And we need to get back to those interactions because it's numbing us to the joys of being human. And so I'm spanning quite a large manifesto here into sharing what FlowLab is about. And I think at 24 minutes, I'm going to cut that because this is still going to have to be edited. But the other elements, so let me sort of end off by sharing some of the other key elements that we focus on within the FlowLab. I've already mentioned the transformational leadership, thinking about your durable forms of, or durable skills, fostering continuous growth mindsets, better emotional intelligence. The second part of that pillar, the second pillar to FlowLab, is about data-driven strategy, using data to make better informed decisions on everything from politics through to local governance, more decentralized resources and risk-taking to have bottom-up, bubble-up growth, through to optimizing pricing strategies and also people strategies. We're not using data enough. We could be circumventing a lot of the pain points in the market right now if we were actually doing what we've been doing for the 1%, but scaling that to everyone else. And so we need to invert this pyramid. We also want to build customer centricity, pillar 3, aligning products with customer needs, implementing voice of the customer programs. There are wonderful ways to do that. Fostering cultures of continuous improvement. The fourth part, which is actually a key component of what we do, is operational excellence. Once we start bedding down the right data, we're building the right innovations. We want to also, innovation is also about streamlining processes, understanding how we can optimize resources, understanding how we can implement and scale better systems. Cut the fat. Get rid of that yellow fat or the white fat. I can't remember which one's the really harmful one. Those are the zombies. Get rid of those on lifelines. If they are no longer able to support themselves, we need to cut the bleeding. We need to switch off the machine and move on. They need to go and retire, get out the way, so that those young guns, the young bucks, and those with energy, enthusiasm, and the right intentions can come in and help us build tomorrow. The other element here is key: ecosystem empowerment. We share through LinkedIn and other ecosystems and networks, we share an extensive ecosystem of professionals, experts, opinion leaders, thought leaders, public speakers, everything. We've got that. We need to hothouse that and share that knowledge. And certainly from a startup, founder, data analytics building perspective, we have that here. We at the FlowLab want to do more of that. Building robust supply chains, that's a big part of our ecosystem development. Ensuring there's less food security issues, ensuring that we have less cyber security issues. Our ecosystem of partners includes people that are building defensibility in areas of screen time to protect children from the harmful effects of sexting and pesting and online harassment and abuse. And that obviously needs to be extended to a wider, a broader audience that may include media, education, understanding how to approach your media, misinformation, disinformation, malinformation. These are all important aspects and buckets that fall within the operational excellence, but touch on some of the other areas of performance improvement and ecosystem development, I was saying. So in closing, I guess what we're looking for now is to scale and grow with the right partners. And we also want to choose our partners with the utmost respect to you. We are, the likes of Decathlon, the likes of Patagonia, the likes of Coca-Cola too, the likes of Unilever too, the likes of all the other big consumer goods companies, the retailers. We can work together to create the right vision and the right pathway. And several pathways. There is no one pathway or vectors to get us out of a sticky mess and a discombobulated space and perhaps a lot of tension into the future whilst thriving. So unlock potential, we drive impact, pockets of impact, and also as humans, we'll start to feel the benefits of that and enable thriving in the FlowLab. So if you are open to a conversation, please reach out. I'm speaking to people in the podcast. We could start off with a podcast for fun and take it from there. I'm all about dialogue and for us to find a way. I think we're going to. There's already pockets of that happening, and FlowLab is for the now and the next. That's what it was built for, and the time is right. So please do reach out. We're always looking for partners, clients, angel investors would be much appreciated. Please do reach out. Thank you very much. Enjoy your weekend. with much love and good wishes. Godspeed. Go well.